Hi, welcome back to another video. This week what I thought we could do is have a look at the spring-loaded camming device. First of all, thank you to everyone for subscribing to our channel thus far. Your support means the absolute world, and hopefully you're finding these videos useful in helping you progress with your own climbing. If you are new here, please feel free to subscribe by clicking that button below, as we have loads of great new content coming out over the next year to help you improve your knowledge and skills. So first of all, a little bit of history for you. CAMS were invented back in the 1970s and completely revolutionised rock climbing, because for the first time climbers had a piece of protection which could be easily and quickly placed into flared or parallel cracks. Prior to this, climbers were using hexes and pitons. Now, if you've ever had to place a piton on a route, it takes a fair bit of time because what you have to do is stop and hammer the damn things in. The other slightly worrying thing about pitons is generally they damage the rock you're climbing on, and as you hammer them in, potentially split that rock, which is never a really good thing. Also, once they're in, you can't really remove them. Therefore, if you were on a big route, you had to haul a huge bag of them up with you. Hexes came next and were the first real removable pieces of protection for these types of cracks. However, they're a little bit fiddly to place. Finally, when the CAM came about, because of their ease and speed to place, they propelled climbing into a new era, as it gave climbers back in the day more confidence to try harder routes. Now, there are loads of different types of CAM on the market these days, all with subtle patented differences. However, they generally all work exactly the same. Most have 4 lobes at the top, 2 on the inside and 2 on the outside, held in place by these horizontal axes. Connected to these is the stem, where at the bottom we can attach our rope via a sling, and finally in the middle we have a trigger which opens and closes the CAM's lobes. Now, CAMs are quite expensive. On average, they cost around £60 to £80 each, so ensuring you buy the right set for you is really important. So I thought I'd start this video with the main things that I look for when I'm buying a new set of CAMs. Firstly, do you buy dual axle CAMs or single axle CAMs? Dual axle CAMs will give you a greater camming range, aka they can compress or expand over a greater distance. Super handy, as you can place these CAMs in a variety of crack widths. Single axle CAMs give you less range, however they are a little lighter and less bulky. Now, we're only talking grams here, however if weight is a concern for you, then maybe it's worth buying single axle CAMs. For me personally, I prefer having a greater camming range, so I prefer the dual axle CAMs, as I don't particularly notice the weight difference in either of them. The next thing I look for is, are they actually passively rated? Basically, what this means is, are they rated to hold a fall when they're completely open in this kind of umbrella position? I find this quite reassuring in case I've actually placed a CAM badly and, I don't know, it's walked deep into a crack, popped into this umbrella position. It should actually still be able to hold a fall. My final consideration is, do the slings at the ends actually extend out? The Dragon CAMs we're using here do have extendable slings. I absolutely love this feature, as I find I clip my rope into the CAM directly more often and without using a quick draw. Basically, for me, anything that increases speed, whilst I'm absolutely pumped out my marbles on a route, is a winner every single time. So let's have a look at placing these in the rock itself. Before you place any gear into rock, firstly we must always check the quality of the rock we're placing the protection into. When placing CAMs, what we're looking for is cracks between 2 really solid bits of rock. If the rock looks a little bit flaky, dusty, kind of sounds hollow or moves when we give it a wobble, you need to avoid it. The brilliance of CAMs is because of the lobe shape, which is described mathematically as a logarithmic spiral. Now, the maths is slightly complicated. Well, it is for me anyway. However, to keep it simple, a loaded CAM will exert double the force through the lobes that is actually being loaded down through the stem. Because of these high forces, CAMs can actually lift boulders off the ground and split rock quite easily. Therefore, what we're looking for when placing a CAM is cracks with super solid rock either side of the crack. Next is direction. we must always consider where the load is being taken. When we're leading, we need to place the cam with the stems pointing down to the ground, because if we fall, basically our weight will land below it. If we place them in horizontally at 90 degrees in a vertical crack, if we fall, we'll cause the cam to spin around in it, which isn't ideal. We can place cams in horizontal cracks as the stems are flexible and they can be redirected over the rock edges themselves. We just need to be careful to ensure that you're only directing the plastic or wire stem over the rock instead of the sling. Finally, contact point. For a cam to work at its optimum, what we want is the very middle parts of the loads to be touching the rock. So the cams almost look like they're in this kind of angel ring position like that. Overcamming is where the cam is contracted to its smallest. It will work, however, it will most likely result in your second never getting the damn thing out of the crack because it can't compress anymore, so it's almost impossible to remove. Undercamming is where the lobes aren't compressed enough. The potential issue here is not actually having enough force going through those lobes to keep it in place, and it will most likely kind of walk itself further into the crack. A top tip for when you're actually placing a cam is, firstly, if the cam doesn't quite fit correctly, but it looks like the right size. If you remember, I kind of said that we have 2 lobes on the inside and 2 on the outside, and sometimes you'll find that if you just flip the whole thing round, it'll suddenly kind of fit really nicely. Another tip is to use your fingers and thumb, kind of like a syringe when placing. It kind of gives you a little bit more dexterity to place the cam, as well as a little bit more room to see kind of how it's being placed. My final tip is to buy individual snap gates for each cam. Yes, okay, they'll take up a little bit more space on your harness, however they become much easier to get off and use, rather than fighting with a whole bunch of them on one snap gate. Honestly, if you don't do this already, this is a real game changer, as it will just add to your overall efficiency whilst leading. Thanks again for watching this video. Hopefully you found that really useful. If you have any questions, then please feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I will do my best to answer any queries you may have. Thanks again for watching, and I'll hopefully see you for the next video. Take care.